Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom. Actually, we're dubbing this week's show Operation Freedom Unplugged, since our main freedom bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor at Wham Talk 1600 Studios is, well, technically not quite functioning the way it needs to. So here we are for our subscribers doing a special Operation Freedom Unplugged broadcast just for our subscriber base that hopefully eventually will be able to get out to the entire listening public. It is my honor to have back with me someone who's an incredible freedom fighter, Adriana Reed. She has actually fought for your economic and financial freedom for well over a decade. Might I say, when she started fighting for your freedom, many people say, oh, I don't understand the need for precious metals. Well, right now, all those folks that said that are saying, you know what? Adriana was like a decade ahead of the curve on this. And everybody at Camino was founded over 30 years ago. 30 years ahead of the curve by the founder, Bert. Adriana Reed has been with the Camino Company since 2011 as a trader, and she is one of the principals, and I believe what is the most honest and knowledgeable company and Adriana person in the precious metals arena. Camino, C-A-M-I-N-O, CaminoCompany.com. It's my honor to welcome back my friend, Adriana Reed. Adriana, welcome back to the Operation Freedom, this time unplugged version.
Thanks for having me again, Dave.
Adriana, off air, you and I were speaking about where we are today with this country. Adriana, if I said to you, even though you saw where things were going with our financial freedom, and everyone at Camino did as well, and Bert did 30 plus years ago, if I said to you 5 years ago, and I listed you, whether it's Afghanistan or the freedom-stripping virus or with the mandates and the jab and stagflation, if I told you 5 years ago this is where we'd be today, what would you have said?
You know, Dave, I never could have imagined this in my lifetime, to be honest. As I told you earlier, the America that I grew up in was by choice. It was about freedom. It was about liberty. It was also about America and Americans that treated each other with a mutual respect. As you know, being that I'm a libertarian, you know, I believe that everybody has a right to live their lives as long as they do no harm onto others. And honestly, the world heartbreaks me these days because I just feel that liberty and freedom is under attack at a very substantial point in time. And I feel that a lot of people are still fighting for that. But I also feel that hope seems like it's dwindling at times for me with the things that I see, especially mandates from the government. Government interference in my world never works, and it doesn't work for anybody. I also am somebody who believes in entrepreneurs. I believe in there's no such thing as ceilings for anybody, that growth and ability to go from the poorest of poor and be a successful individual is what makes America great. And the current circumstances that I see in America, where we're putting ceilings on people, we're mandating people, it's just not the America that I grew up in and have grown to love over my lifetime. And I pray to God that we get back to what I once knew.
I have that same, I feel that same way, unfortunately, Adriana. I wish I could say, oh, Adriana, you're being pessimistic, and there's a silver lining in this cloud. The silver lining, actually, is people like yourself and maybe a bit me and many others that are fighting this, that are not bending a knee to fear, which is what the deep state wants. There was a quote I read this morning, and I found it to be very profound, and I'd like to share it with you. Quote, "The Bill of Rights is not a list of things government gave you. The Bill of Rights is a list of rights the government cannot take away from you."
Absolutely.
But it seems as though, and please tell me I'm wrong, but it seems as though 24/7, the government, every branch, executive, legislative, judicial, federal, state, local in many respects, are doing everything in their power to strip Americans of their God-given, not government-given, God-given rights and liberties.
Dave, I couldn't agree more with that statement. It does seem that way, that every day that we wake up, it's just a new nightmare. Every time that it seems that we made some progress from the last nightmare, there comes the new one. And my hope is that we get to the point that we reach a balance in society of respect, but the government cannot be involved in your life to be successful. And that's how I feel 100%. You have too many people under corruption. You have too many people with self-interest in our government, and the government got too big for the American people. And until we get rid of it and strip it itself and break it down, they're going to keep attacking us.
There was a woman, a mom, like yourself, a mom from San Diego who recently went in front of the San Diego board. And I want to play the clip for you and then get your take. Here's the clip.
Rooted Wings on Instagram. Nathan Fletcher, I tagged the heck out of you, so I'm sure that you are very familiar with me. Jim Desmond, thank you for your work. Wilma Wooten, this is also directed at you along with Nathan Fletcher. America is not a hospital. California is not a hospital. San Diego, it's not a hospital. This is a constitutional republic that guarantees protection of individual freedom and liberty and due process. This applies to our individual pursuits of medical interventions and health practices. San Diego is not a hospital floor that we collectively have checked into, that subjects all patients to equitably prescribed medical care with no due process. Our Constitution does not secure for government power to impose forced equity in medical mandates and interventions, or the power to punish carte blanche. There are 3.338 million people in San Diego County, 3,811 people who have died with COVID. Of those, 96%, 3,652 had comorbidities with hypertension, diabetes, cardiac disease accounting for the top three. Median age 77. That is a total fatality rate of 0.1%. 3.338 million people. That is a clear affinity for a specific vulnerable age and health demographic, with majority fatalities prior to available treatment options and prevention. 91% of San Diegans, 60-69, received the injection. 98%, 70-79, received the injection. We remove consent from treating us like we are patients in a hospital ward. We are done. The consent of the governed is removed. We will not comply. We do not consent. Nathan Fletcher, you are on notice. We will constitutionally remove all petty tyrants beginning now.
Your time is up.
Yeah. They thought her time was up. Her time was just beginning, Adriana.
It seems that way, Dave. It seems that way.
But
I mean, she hits it point on, though, is that what we're doing is, I joke with people on the phone when I talk to our customers. I can't get my 4 children to agree on what to eat for dinner. And they're not the same. And that's just 4 people. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take all the people in the United States and fit them into one little bubble. And not everybody fits in that bubble. People have different ways of life. They've made different choices for themselves along the way, including their health and how they chose to handle their own health. But they chose that. And that was their choice. And that's what this is about. We make our own choices for ourselves. And those choices are the ones that we have to live with, not ones that the government puts upon us and make us live with.
And now they've turned to just blatant coercion. I mean, it's beyond the blatant lying, right? I mean, blatant coercion.
Absolutely. And what they do is they're constantly trying to make us live in fear. They're constantly trying to put their will upon us, and it has to stop at some point. People make their choices, and they can choose what's best for themselves. They choose what's best for their families, and they have to move forward with their choices.
So I had a conversation with someone the other day who said, this guest you have on regularly, Adriana Reed, for years she's been telling us to get out of the system, financial system, to protect ourselves. This person said to me, I understood what she was saying, but I really didn't understand what she was saying until the past month. To watch the government in such a iron-fisted manner handle every situation of late, and then to tell people, no, don't believe your lying eyes, just believe our lies. This person said, I never thought I would get out of the financial system and end up having to have an insurance policy such as precious metals. But this person said, you know what? I've been a fool. I've been a fool for years in not listening to Adriana Reed. Adriana, educate our listeners again, because it's imperative that they not only listen but act. Educate our listeners in how they get out of the system and how they protect themselves and the best insurance policy they could have financially and economically.
Absolutely, because one of the freedoms and the liberties that we have is our financial freedom, and it's also being attacked. It's been attacked, in my opinion, for over 100 years, and you could probably even put it before then. But really, it started in 1913 when the Federal Reserve was made, and these banking systems were created and were made with deep state players to start with. And so what I want you to do is I want you to understand that the banking system will never work in your favor. They are playing with house money, and you can't beat them. The only way to beat them is to get out. And so my personal recommendation is to always have an insurance policy on your finances. So buying precious metals is basically going to set you up for success during the times when you're going to need it the most. And we saw that in 2020, especially when a lot of people fell to unemployment. They were fired from their jobs. They weren't allowed to go to work. They were told that what they could and could not do. And it becomes that resource that you need, and you have that tool under your belt. So my goal is to reach as many people as I can in order to get them out of the corruption of the banking system with precious metals, and have a percentage of your money in precious metals for those rainy days.
So educate our listeners on how they can do that, Adriana, in gold and silver specifically. And as I understand it, the U.S. Mint, and tell me if I'm wrong, but what I have heard is the U.S. Mint is now backlogged on gold.
Absolutely. So they cannot keep up with the amount of gold that is being purchased in the United States and around the world for that matter, especially sovereign countries, as you and I both know, have gone very heavy on gold purchases. What we're finding is that it is becoming more difficult to get, but we are still able to get it. So do not lose hope that if you place an order, we fulfill every order that you will ever put with us. So basically what you need to do is you just give us a call. You can talk to one of the traders. We'll go over all the finances that you have available, how much you want to spend. Storage capacity is also something that we talk about because of the silver can be much bulkier than gold. And so we always want to make sure that you have a safe place to put it and you have the ability to take it on. We'll go over all of those things. Then you place the order with us. The prices will be locked in at that time. We're experiencing a lot of volatility in the markets, and I think it's only going to get worse as we head into the fourth quarter. And I think that it's critical that you have some precious metals at this point in time because of the volatility. Just a percentage of your portfolio, I think it's critical. We lock in all of the prices, you send payment, and then we put you in line to ship to get the metals out to you. We are going back on certain items are starting to become delayed again, and we'll notify you at the time that you place your order. But we all are working on overdrive to get orders out to you as quickly as possible so that you can take possession and have that comfort.
And when it comes to gold and when it comes to silver, what are the available options people have at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, one of some of the main items that I'm personally recommending are the Canadian Maple Leafs, the Australian Kangaroos. I still recommend the American Gold Eagles, but they do run a higher premium because of the circumstances with the U.S. Mint. On the silver side, I always recommend the 1 ounce rounds. They're privately minted 1 ounce coins that are just there for their silver. You can buy in bulk with 10 ounce bars, 100 ounce bars. We also do sell the monster boxes or silver eagles. If that's something that you would like to purchase, those are available as well. And then something that you and I always talk about, and it's always a great purchase, is the 90% silver. That item, it's been around since pre-1965. It's our dimes, quarters, and half dollars that used to be made with silver. And it's a great option for purchasing. That's another thing that you can take on as well.
And educate our listeners about premiums, because on Friday I got a note from someone who's very networked in the financial world and said, "Hey, Dave, there are huge problems at the Shanghai Gold Exchange that their premiums are going through the roof. Can you educate our listeners about premiums and where we stand with that?"
Yeah, absolutely. The premiums, we're doing our best to keep them as low as possible. They are higher than they have been. They're not as high as they were last year, I will say. But we are finding that they are starting to creep back up again with the volatility in this past couple of weeks. But like I said, we're trying to keep all the premiums as low as possible for those who are still trying to get in before anything happens.
So once folks order gold and silver, take people through the process, because one of the problems I have heard is people say, "Well, I had a relative that was involved in the precious metals world, and I ordered through this relative, and well, it ended up being a goat rodeo." And educate our listeners on the steps of how you handle it with Camino, which I believe is the most transparent, honest, and straightforward means of obtaining precious metals. Educate our listeners on the process so that if they have to go to Uncle Vinny to buy precious metals, the red flags they'll come in contact with when they hear that, wait a minute, this was a different process than what Adriana described that they do at Camino.
Yeah, absolutely. So you call us up, you place the order, you'll get the price at that time. The prices are locked in at the time. Once they're agreed upon, you'll get an invoice. Then you will make payment, and then we ship out to you. Key red flags is the prices are not locked in at the time of order. There are some companies I have found that will say that they're locked in, but if the markets go up or down, they will change the price on the order. or it also has to do with the availability based off of what they sold. The other thing that also is a major red flag is stay away from anything that says this is a once in a lifetime purchase, or it's a special commemorative that came out just this year. We want to steer away from those things. We want to get you basic silver, gold. We also do platinum and palladium as well, to throw it out there. But we want to get these base items that get you out of fiat currency, are generic, and are going to have the most bang for their buck.
Excellent. And then once folks get, so talk about delivery. When folks get it, about, the steps they should go through.
Absolutely. So if you can and you feel comfortable, having a safe at your home is a great option for storage. I live out in California, so I always recommend a fireproof safe. The other options are also there's safety deposit and private storage facilities that are starting to open up more and more, I've noticed. So you can look in your local area, make sure that you do all your research on them before you store anything with them. But it's a great option. Another one that you utilize as well is Brinks. Brinks is an option to use if you feel comfortable putting it in their facilities. But my recommendation is to have some at home if possible, just because, especially these past couple of years, like you and I said at the beginning of the segment, we just don't know where things are truly going to go anymore.
And Adriana, how educate our listeners in your website, how they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can visit our website at www.caminocompany.com. The site is live and does offer the option to purchase online if that's something that you feel comfortable with. If not, you can give us a call. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 Pacific Standard Time, and you can reach us at 800-348-8001.
Adriana, in our last couple minutes here, many folks have said, hey, the vast majority of my investment firepower is in my IRA. And I've been told by my broker that I cannot invest my IRA proceeds into physical precious metals. Is that true?
So, Dave, that is not true to an extent. Not all companies allow the purchase of physical precious metals. They do allow the purchase of ETFs and mining stocks, which is not what we want to get into. We want to have physical precious metals transferred. So give me a call and I can help you out with your IRA if we can get it moved into a custodian that will allow the purchase of precious metals, or also get you started with an IRA that does have precious metals as part of your portfolio. I can work with you on that. And I think right now it's absolutely a great option. Considering my experience in 2008, you and I both know how many IRAs and 401ks were wiped out during the financial crisis at the time. And we want to make sure that we keep your retirement safe.
And Adriana, finally, on your site, you have inflation kits that people can also purchase, correct?
Absolutely. So we have 2 kits that are available. We have the inflation kit and the hyperinflation kit. Give us a call and we'll price it out. They both have different spending capabilities of between $5,000 and $15,000. But it's our opinion of what is a good start for somebody who's just starting to get into precious metals themselves.
Okay, and in our last minute, again, educate our listeners on the website and your contact information.
Yes, so you can visit us at www.caminocompany.com. You can also contact us through our website if you have any questions, comments, or concerns that you want to talk about. Or you can give us a call directly. Like I said, it's 8 to 4 Pacific Standard Time, 800-348-8001.
Adriana, I'd like to thank you and everyone in the Camino Company for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. You have been the leading edge, if you will, of this, of being the nemesis to the deep state for each and every American, every person of the world's financial and economic well-being. You've taken a lot of heat for it. You have a tremendous amount of courage, perseverance, dedication, and have sacrificed a tremendous amount. And I thank you on behalf of millions, frankly, billions of people. Folks, you're listening to Operation Freedom Unplugged, actually. I'm Dr. Dave Janda. We hope you'll stay tuned for our next segment. Thanks for joining us today.